Good morning, everyone. This is the first of what will be a really entertaining series of short discussions with some of our world-leading experts around the alternative protein sector. And this morning, I am introducing you to the amazing Dr. Simon Eassom, who is the head of an organisation called Food Frontier. You and your office have been absolutely inspirational in helping the work we're trying to do in WA to both promote to the industry, to government and to consumers. So let me start by asking you if you could please explain to us a bit about yourself, but also about the work of Food Frontier.
Yeah, okay, so I'll start with Food Frontier. We're an independent think tank. We provide thought leadership, to a certain extent, advocacy, but particularly insights from data and research around the possibility of alternative sources of protein to help feed a growing population on the planet, but also to help mitigate against some of the issues from our existing industrial food practices, particularly around the trying to prevent zoonotic disease, trying to prevent antibiotic resistance in animals passing into humans, looking at the impact of animal agriculture on climate change, looking at food security, food poverty. And we're doing all that through the lens of what alternative proteins can offer in terms of mitigating some of those issues, but also driving forward a healthier, sustainable food production transformation. My role as CEO, I've come from a very mixed background, as half of my career as an academic at university teaching ethics and teaching philosophy, and coming very much from a perspective of environmental ethics, business ethics, animal ethics, and so on. But also from a corporate background, working with IBM for a significant amount of time around futuristic thinking and the use of technology and so on to transform the process management and development. So putting the blend of the public sector and the corporate into this particular role.
I remember when we were driving you back to the airport recently, Simon, you were talking to me from your academic experience about humanity and our trajectory around nutrition and food. And I often hear that humans are meant to eat meat. And you said something quite startling to me that I'd never heard. Would you summarize what you said to me?
I don't think we can find answers for looking for what we call naturalistic explanations. In other words, we're in a position of what we call the fact-value controversy. No matter what facts we try to marshal, they don't necessarily inform a value judgment about what we should or shouldn't do. I don't think the answers come from saying, oh, well, for 300,000 years of our development of humans, we ate this, and therefore that's what we always ought to eat. But what we do confuse is some of that sort of mythical conceptions of our past and our ancestry. And for the majority of time of civilization and the development of civilization and the migration of peoples around the planet, we have been predominantly plant eaters. But two things are really important here. One is the fact that we have choice. We can actually control what we eat and what we don't eat. As long as we understand the nutritional requirements, we can manufacture ourselves the best possible diet. And that's not just for our individual health, but also sustainability of the environment in which we're growing that food or capturing that food or managing that food. So we have that choice. And then the second thing is that all protein comes from plants. It's all originally sourced through plants. What we do with animal agriculture, of course, is use an animal as a midway point to digest things that we could not digest and turn that plant proteins into, in this case, meat proteins that we can then consume, or dairy proteins that we can consume. So we've chosen them as an efficient means of providing us with our protein, and we farm them accordingly as we develop in civilization. That one fact of the matter is that all protein comes from plants in its original source. And now we have an opportunity to investigate that further and create a sustainable future of protein supply for the growing demands of people and the growing population of this planet by going back to that root, no pun intended, of looking at what plants can offer us, especially with alternative proteins coming from diversification of that protein ingredients from different sources that we've neglected for.
I have a question to follow up specifically about plant-based, Simon. And when we talk about alternative protein, it's obviously not just about plant-based, but this question is specifically about plant-based proteins. I'm really interested in what your take is when you hear things like, oh, these are too over processed, what's on the market at the moment, so it's not healthy for you. Could you give me a bit of your insight into what you would respond?
Whilst there are absolutely some really important concerns about ultra processed food, we've got to be a little careful that we don't commit the fallacy of forced conversion. Just because um, all junk food is ultra processed doesn't mean all ultra processed food is junk food. So we've got to be very careful. And know the classifications which determine whether something is classed as processed or ultra processed is a statement around the processing itself. It's not actually a statement around whether these
No.
things are nutritious or not nutritious or unhealthy. So the best thing we can do is look at it on a case-by-case basis. In many cases, processing and ultra-processing are vital for increasing the nutrition of the product, increasing its preservation, so its ability to be transported and therefore kept in a good state to ultimately be consumed several weeks or months post production. A number of pieces of research have looked at how does a plant-based burger compare to a meat burger. Well, the first thing to note is that there is no one archetype you should look at. You can't just look at the whole category and say, plant-based burgers are better or worse than meat burgers. Well, it depends on the individual manufacturer and what they've done. But in general, these utility foods, they're all processed food. When you compare a plant-based utility food with an animal source utility food, generally the plant-based food comes out better in terms of its nutritional profile. It has less saturated fat. Because of that, it has less calories. It includes fiber because it's got plants in it, whereas meat doesn't have any fiber in it whatsoever. It's generally lower in sodium. And so across these key indicators that we can see, that we should really not be scared of consuming some of these foods. But buyer beware. There's a lot of stuff out there that is bordering on, too highly processed, and we should ignore it.